Hey everyone, welcome back to the Wyoming Knits YouTube channel. My name is Jenny Lee and this is my channel where I like to talk about all the things that I've been knitting on over the past week. Today is Sunday, June 21st. Happy Father's Day, and this is episode 144. You can find me on Instagram as Jenny Lee Knits, and you can find me on Ravelry as Jenny Lee S Knits. And today I'm coming to you from a beautiful sunny southwest Wyoming where I live with my husband, our daughter, and our little Yorkie Dax. The sun is shining, it is beautiful outside, there's a few clouds, but it has been so windy the last couple of days. It is 67 degrees outside right now, and it's supposed to be a high of 76. So it's going to be a nice warm day. Today I have 2 finished objects, 8 works in progress, and just a little life update. I'm wearing my Maema cardigan today. I wanted something that covered most of my arms. It was slightly chilly when I got up this morning. This is by Pip and Pin. They do have a fingering weight one, that's this one, and a DK weight one I think I'm going to try. It has a stockinette sleeve and then a honeycomb brioche on the fronts and the back. I worked on this last summer when I was home. I teach first grade here in southwest Wyoming, and so I am officially on summer break right now. I have the rest of this month, next month, and then I'll probably start thinking about going back the beginning of August. So let's, the yarn I used for this is Mama Jess Knits in her color shades of purple. That was last year's April mystery color, and I just ordered 3 skeins because I was like, ooh, it looks very purpley. Let's see what I can make with 3 skeins of it, not knowing what I was going to get. So let's jump in with finished objects. My first one, I think I showed this last week, and I was on the second sock. So I had the first sock finished, and the second sock I was halfway down the leg. I was right here last time, and I finished the rest of this. This is vanilla socks. I use the Crazy Sock Ladies pattern. She has vanilla socks on DPNs, 9-inch circulars, magic loop, all in her Ravelry store and on her Etsy store, and they all have like the same counts. Just she tailors it to whatever needle you're using, and so I do all of my socks on 9-inch circular needles, and so that's what I did. This one I did 64 stitches, 2x2 ribbed cuff, 70 rounds for the leg, slip stitch heel flap, knit as long as I needed to fit my foot, and then I put in the toe from that pattern. So these will be probably for me. I will set them over to the side for a little while and see, but they'll probably end up being for me. So this was the Knit Picks Felicini in the color Concession Stand. And so this was one of their limited edition. They only did this one round. They had the Felici for a long time, and then they discontinued the Felici and came out with this one, and I think not everybody was a fan of the smaller stripes. They wanted the bigger, thicker stripes, and so they brought the Felici back. But that is my first finished object today. My second one is one you've seen a while ago, but they were on a break for a little while. I started these for someone, and then it was my daughter's friend that she had started hanging out with, and then they had a little falling out, and I was like, ooh, I don't know if I want to finish those. Let's see. So I put them on hold for a little while, and I think I have someone else I'm going to give them to. So I finished them. This is the second breakfast sock pattern by Witchery. It's got this fun little waffle texture on there. I was on the first sock right here. Last time I showed it on here, I finished the first sock and all of the second sock this week. So I also started with a German twisted cast on, 64 stitches, 2x2 ribbed cuff. Then I did the pattern, the texture pattern in the second breakfast sock pattern. Then I substituted in the heel from the Crazy Sock Lady's vanilla socks and the toe from her vanilla socks. So these are finished. I really like these, how squishy they are. I'm going to take one off the blocker. So they're squishy, and they really hug your foot and keep your foot warm. I have not blocked these. I probably will not, but I really like these. I like the way this yellow turned out. This is a Zen Yarn Garden who is no longer dyeing yarn. They have retired and closed down their website, and this was the French vanilla color. Kind of reminds me of like corn on the cob. So those were my finished objects, and because I finished a pair of vanilla socks, I cast on a pair of vanilla socks. I really want to start working on my Felici jelly roll blanket again. So we'll go into works in progress. And I pulled out a set of Knit Picks Felici. These are 50-gram balls, and I usually use 2 of them. This was from the summer of 2022, and this is the color Roommates. It was Bert and Ernie inspired. And I have been working on the first sock. I started with a German twisted cast on. I cast on 64 stitches. I did 20 rounds with a 2x2 ribbed cuff, and then started in on straight stockinette, just knit stitch. I did the slip stitch heel flap. I did the heel turn, and now I am just knitting. I will probably make these to fit me. I'm using 9-inch circular needles. This is a US size 0. I do everything on the 9-inch until I get to the toe, and then when I start the toe decreases, I switch to magic loop. And I do my magic loop on a size 1, US size 1 needle, because I am so much tighter on the US size 1 than I am, or so much tighter on the magic loop than I am on 9-inch circulars. So that is that one. I don't do anything different when I'm doing striping yarn. I know some people will get down to the heel and then put in a contrast color or pull from the inside. I just keep going. And so when I got to the heel turn, then came back, picked up my stitches, I was at this burgundy color. So that is that one. Almost finished with the first sock. And then I had a few skeins of yarn that I had picked out that I wanted to work up sometime this summer, and I had them just over to the side. I grabbed some more Mama Jess yarn. I grabbed some yarnable yarn, and I remembered I had this one. This is in, oh, I forgot to tell you, my Felici socks are living in my Mountain State Stitches bag. I will have all the bags, all the patterns, well, all the bags and all the yarn where you can get them linked in the description box below, and then I will have my project page linked with a link on the project page to the pattern page on Ravelry. So this is my Klein Designs bag. I got this probably about 3 or 4 years ago as it was like a sock set that came with a bag, and I never did kick up the sock set and knit the socks. It came with this Sweet Tea yarns in the color Mystery Machine, and it had just been setting and setting and setting in my yarn stash. And these are the two colors. The orange matches the inside, and so I finally cast this on. I think I cast this on yesterday. So I did German twisted cast on with the contrast color, size 0, did 2x2 rib for 20 rounds. This is marking the 10th round, and then I started the stack of books by Witchery. It is just slightly different than the second breakfast pattern, but really close. I've only done a few rounds. I've probably done 10 to 15, maybe 20. So there's those ones. After I started going, I was like, I don't want plain vanilla in that. I want some kind of texture. So this is a broken rib pattern, and I'm just gonna knit on this in my matching bag. And then I pulled out my Slice of Summer socks again. It's living in my Needles Crafts bag. And this is a Lambwoman knits yarn. She is no longer dyeing yarn. I'm pretty sure she took down her Etsy shop. This one just had the yarn base on there. It had two 50-gram skeins in it with no colors. I think she was using up her labels and getting out her yarn so she could close down her Etsy shop. And I have gotten a little bit further on my Slice of Summer socks. Ooh, I'm right in the middle. Maybe that wasn't a good spot to stop, but I will show you. There's a stripe like this on this side and on that side. But I decided I wanted to do shorty socks, so I did 12 rounds of the cuff. I think I followed what it said in the pattern, and then in the pattern it said do the 4-row repeat for the texture pattern, and then after that 4-row repeat you could keep going or you could add your heel. So I added the heel. So I think I have 18 rounds from when I started to when I put in the heel. That is blowing out a lot. That's a little better. It is a dark pink, not purple. So, and it does have little specks of purple in it. So this is going to be fun. I hope I finish it before the end of summer. I think I do have the texture pattern memorized now. I think I can do it without looking at the pattern. Maybe looking at the pattern right when I first pick it up, but then after that, I think I got it. So this will be a little bit easier to finish now that I don't have to look at the pattern every single time. This was just a little 50-gram mini. And those are the socks that I worked on this week. So I worked on 5 pairs of socks this week. I think I'm kind of getting my sock mojo back. Then the other thing I worked on that I got a lot of work done on is my daughter's Stria cardigan. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry. She is Andrea Renee Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. I'm using Knit Pick Stroll for this. And I'm using the Bear yarn. The red is Strawberry and the blue is Serene. They're all Knit Pick Stroll. And I was working on the first sleeve last time. So I finished the first sleeve. I have not woven in any of my ends at all. All the ends on the inside, they're still there. I'm gonna have to take a day and weave in all of my ends before I start the collar. But I have picked up and started the second sleeve. So I have one sleeve done and one sleeve going. She picked out these colors. She wanted red, white, and blue. So I'm hoping to have this done before the end of the month. I have, what, 9 days left? I think I can do it. Finish the sleeve and then pick up for the collar and button band. And then the button band is all in the main color. So that'll be easy. We'll have to switch colors at all. But I've been working on this since, I want to say November. I just pick it up every once in a while and work on it. And, ooh, I got some buttons. We looked on Etsy and we found some buttons. And these buttons, let's see, do I have a blank piece of paper. And these have cute little red and blue stars in them. That we're gonna put on there for her. So she was pretty excited about that. I got 6 buttons in this cute little holder. I will link the shop where I got these in the description box below, with all the details for the yarn and my pattern page and the bag. I've been working on that one for quite a while. And then I picked up my Gramercy Tee. This is a bag that I got at the Great Basin Fiber Arts Festival. I don't think she has an online shop though. I'm using Dragon Hoard yarn on her Nixie Sport base. I'm using Highland and Terrasen. And I am almost finished with my first cake. This is reclaimed yarn from different sweater attempts. Hopefully this one is, oh, I lost my yarn. Oh, dropped it on the floor. Hopefully this is the sweater that it is going to be, and I don't have to rip it out again. But last time I had just connected the front, just got the V-neck connected, and where did I put my stitch marker? Right here. It was right here last time, so I've done about that much. Put in the neck stripe. So this is the front. It's got the saddle shoulders. It's very kind of fiddly to hold and show. If you put your yarn or your work on hold with these little stitch stoppers, every once in a while make sure that they are tight. You can use the little key to tighten them because they do come undone. I've had them come undone a couple of times just from like hanging out in the bag, getting picked up, put down, like when you're turning your work. So this is the back. This is the Gramercy Tee by Tori Yu. Haven't got very far yet, but this will get more work after I finish the Stria cardigan. I'm using, let's see, Chogu interchangeable set, US size 4, 3.5 millimeter, US size 4. So that is in that one. Then I worked on this blanket in this just little tote that goes in your, I don't know, your little squares. This is my scrap Witchery blanket. It is a half fisherman's rib. And let's see, where's my stitch marker? There we go. It's right here. Last time I've done that much. Just working away. This one is so easy for me to just pick up and start working on it. You do the half fisherman's rib stitch on the front side, and then on the back side you just knit across. And so I always knit across the front in the half fisherman's rib and then knit across on the back and then start going again. And then I was like, oh well, I was gonna stop, but I need to get all the way to the end and flip it and go back, so I'm starting at the front again. So every time I pick it up, I work on it for longer than I thought I was going to, just because it's easy. I have my 2 magic cakes connected so far, and then I have just some more random yarn in here that I'm going to put in. These are all my pinks, and so hopefully they can all go in here. If I run out of yarn, I can add in some other colors. I'll probably have some more pinks by the time I need them, if I need them. So that just lives in here right next to my chair. Super easy pattern. And then I worked on, didn't work on my painting honeycombs blanket. I just didn't pick it up. I felt guilty about not working on my daughter's Stria cardigan, that I didn't want to work on anything else, but I didn't want to pick that up and work on it either. So I would do like, oh well, I'm only going to work on these socks for a few minutes, or I'm only going to work on this for a couple of minutes. And I ended up picking up my friend Megan's blanket. I'll pop in a picture right here of what it's supposed to look like when it's finished. But I added in the beard section. This is the very bottom of the beard on the gnome. I was right, let's see, I had knit all of these squares last time I showed it, and I added in from here to here. So I've just got these 3 gray squares left to go, and then I will start the next row. So this is going to be a big one. I'm excited to work on this. I'm just doing mitered squares. This was a corner to corner blanket. What is that called? Graph. That I saw it and I was like, oh, Megan needs a blanket like this. And I was like, ooh, how could I do that? And I was like, oh, I could do the little mitered squares and just make each square in the graph a mitered square. And so I'm doing 15 by 15, and I'm just gonna keep working on this every once in a while, pick it up, do a couple of squares, mark it off on my chart, and then just keep going. So I worked on this a little bit. I'm using Knit Picks Brava Sport. All the colors are linked on my project page. And worked on that just a little bit. Then I am slowly working on my garter stitch blanket. I was right here last time and I put in the green. I'm still working on the green. I have about, stock, this much left of the green. And then I have these 2 left. I don't know. I hope it's going to be long enough. I don't know. And I'm using this Bernat Baby Sport Sparkle, I think. I don't even know if they make this kind anymore. I think I looked for it and I don't think it's a thing anymore. But I have this cake, or this ball, I guess, and then this ball if I need more. And I'll just keep working. This is inspired by Courtney of Pearls of Parmadise, we're kind of doing this together. She cast one on and I was like, ooh, I have some of that yarn and I want to make that. So I did. I am using size 10.5, 6.5 millimeter needle. I cast on 120 stitches. I'm knitting every row. I'm slipping the first stitch with yarn in front and then moving it to the back at the start of every row and knitting all the way to the end of the row. I'm holding them double. Courtney's doing hers with the Lion Brand homespun that she has and some, uh-oh, I dropped it. Some white acrylic that she has. I think it's all worsted weight. So she's using a bigger needle size and she kind of based hers off the Garter Squish by Stephen West. Oh no, I just lost all of those stitches. I cast on I just cast on a bunch of stitches on a size needle that I thought would work for sport weight, and I just went from there. So I've seen quite a few people doing the Cozy Comfort Throw by Homespun House and modifying it just a little bit to just they cast on more stitches or less stitches, or we'll put that there. I think I got all the stitches back on. I don't want to drop anymore. And so that's a fun project. You just hold two yarns together and just knit back and forth. And then if you want to, you can have an I-cord edge. You can start with an I-cord and pick up your stitches. I think that's what Courtney did. She did an I-cord and picked up her stitches, and she's doing an I-cord edge on both sides. I thought that yarn was fuzzy enough that you wouldn't notice the edge, and so I decided not to do I-cord on it, and I'm not going to go back and pick up stitches and put an I-cord on it when I'm finished. The Cozy Comfort Throw by Homespun House has you go back and put an I-cord edge around the whole thing when you're done. Lots of people just start with an I-cord and pick up stitches and do the I-cord up the sides and then bind off in an I-cord, and then you don't have to go back and pick up stitches when you're finished. I like that idea a lot better than going back and picking up all the stitches when I'm finished. But that's everything I worked on. That garter blanket, I usually only work on that like while I'm editing, so it sits right next to my computer desk and I just pick it up while I listen and watch through to make sure I have good audio and I'm putting in all of the things above my head, and so just working on that while I edit and while it uploads and all the things. So I think that's everything I worked on this week. I didn't get any happy mail. Yeah, I gotta decide on a project that I'm going to be taking with me tomorrow. I am taking my mom to Ogden to the hospital in April. She found out she had a lump in her breast, and so we're going in to have that removed tomorrow finally, and then we will go from there. So tomorrow, or if you're watching this on Monday, if you want to just send out a little prayer for her, that would be nice. So I'm taking her to get surgery, so I'll be waiting in the waiting room for a while. I don't want anything too complicated. Trying to decide if I'm going to take just a blanket or blanket and socks or just socks, so I don't have to think about anything. We'll see. We'll see what I take with me. Probably decide on that later today. I think that's all. Remember the Wyoming yarn crawl. If you're in Southwest Wyoming, stop at the Yarn in the Tail. If you're in Central Wyoming, I think Laramie has the Cowgirl yarn, and then up at the top of the state there's a couple more. I've ordered yarn from Mountain Meadow Wool in Buffalo, Wyoming. They have their own mill, and I have ordered yarn from them before. I really like it. I think that's where Farmer's Daughter Fiber gets their yarn base from, is from Mountain Meadow Wool. I think they have their own blend, so I don't think Mountain Meadow sells the same blend in their store. I think they just mill it for Farmer's Daughter Fibers, I think. And so it is a mill that gets their yarn from local ranches and mills that. So that's a good way to support local. And I think that's everything for today. Leave a comment on what you were looking forward to seeing. If I didn't show it, I will probably show it next time if I work on it. Hopefully I get that Stria cardigan done this week. Leave me a comment on what you're working on this time, and until next Sunday, happy knitting!